I'm not going to be walking around because if I walk around, the internet is going to. And if this did cut off, then oh well, cut off. So, what I was saying is, if the internet cuts off during this live stream, for any reason, that's just what it is. Okay, I'm outside. I can only do things. And if there's anyone wants to comment, then by all means. I'm doing this live stream just because I had this idea of doing live streams around this time of year, around just filming, kind of outside, what's going on during the day, what's going on outside. And I'm just going to, if I can, turn the camera around so that you can get a good sense. This is my backyard, by the way. And I did this back in my original channel back in 2022. So this is what my backyard looks like. You're getting kind of a tour of it here. And nobody's watching it. Well, hopefully there'll be more watching here soon. I'll just go on. Today, I have some thoughts about today. Today is March 19th, and first of all, I knew somebody who was born on March 19th, who actually was an associate of mine who helped me in school. Back in high school, she was an associate of mine. Um, and one thing I remember was, there's something about people born on this particular day, and there's a word to describe them. I'm basing this off of the sun sign horoscope lady who does the horoscopes, or for the birthday horoscopes. It's like this annoying lady who has this very, very weird voice that's like scripted, and like, is she a Leo? Is she a Sagittarius? Is she I don't know what her sign is. She's like, "Hi, I'm Lynette Dolan, and I'm here to eat it." Like it's very, very just scripted. So anyway, she was describing people born on March 19th, and I don't remember a whole lot of what she was describing, but she did describe one word. She described people born on March 19th as being frank, not blunt, not um, you know, uh, you know, rash and aggressive, but also not passive. Not, just passive aggressive, vague, um, not very, y- you know, just very like the lower Pisces can get so caught up in the dreams and all that. Well, this is, we're talking about evolved Pisces. You're at the last degree of Pisces. So it's not like today is not the typical flavor of Pisces. This is like the end of Pisces, the beginning of Aries season. So the word that she used to describe the people born on this day was frank, and that means just just being honest. Like there's a quality of people born today, according to her, and she was like, well, it does depend on various factors, including yourself. Well, yes, it does. You've just made your point right there. I'll leave it at that because it's your astrology. It's not superficial. Superficial. It's like all this superficial stuff about sun signs, like the whole sunsigns.org channel on YouTube, like Sun Signs Online. It's just superficial astrology, and you have to get past that. You're more than just your sun sign, you're your whole chart. The sun is just one aspect of your chart. But so, there's this quality with people born on March 19th, and if you want to comment, feel free to comment. Unless, of course, I blocked comments off of this live stream, which I don't think that I did, and I hope that I didn't. So she described those born on this. Oh, somebody said hi. She described somebody born on March 19th as being frank, as having this honest quality. And it's like, I think when you're being frank, you are being um, honest, but you're not being aggressive. You're not being, hostile at worst. You're not being, too blunt and too, harsh and, very, very short and sharp with your words. But you're also not, just being very vague and just hiding the truth because Pisces can sort of live in an illusion and hide the truth out of compassion. Like at worst, Pisces energy is like, oh, I just want to, I'm so compassionate towards you. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to do this. But at the low level, it can be where you're not speaking the truth to somebody because that's actually a pretty weak thing to, be in a state of position because that's showing the other person that they cannot handle the truth, that they cannot handle. Oh, I hope that my internet is not cutting out. So if the internet did cut out while I was doing this, I'm going to try to stay in one spot from now on. So if it did cut out, then oh well. I wasn't thinking about that. I'll just try to stay here from now on. So um so what I was saying was it's like not withholding the truth for somebody is a weakness. It is a weakness because you're not telling them, because you think that they can't handle it, because you think, they're too, soft and you shouldn't step on their toes. And it goes to, coddling others and not telling them what you honestly want to tell them and, hiding the truth that they need to hear. And so, we don't want to coddle others in our lives. And so, I think that one of the things is this particular person, did kind of harbor on Virgo because, and Glenn Close was born on this day, and she very matter of factly said in one of her videos, I was not put in roles that I liked. And Glenn Close, as you know, played uh, 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 what's it called? Try to think of the character from Cruella de Vil. She played de Vil. So, if you hear outside noises, it's the neighbors. It's whatever they have going on. There was new neighbors, and they have a child, and whatever. So, um, she was very frank in that. But anyway, this person that I knew, was kind of, critical. But she meant well. It's like some people, like I described in one of my podcasts about why I didn't like Virgo energy, and I was describing this person that I knew in school who was critical, and it was very mean and very judgmental and very like it seemed like it was coming not from a compassionate place, from bad intentions. Like it seemed like it had bad intentions to it. Now, I may not be able to see your comments because I'm out here and I'm doing this. So I'll just try to read them. What is this person saying? Oh, thank you. Lucas, 1445. Thank you so much, for that. And I really, put a lot into my videos when I, actually make them. And I really, really suggest if you haven't checked out the Vastness of Google podcast, I'm uploading episodes of those videos, um, those podcasts that I do. I try to keep them on a basis where I'm doing it. Fridays I do the transit. Saturdays I do the placement of the different planet. And then Sundays, like I'm doing Jupiter through the signs. I'm almost done and then I'll get to Saturn placements. Sunday is just any topic. This Sunday I want to do a thing on Pluto and Aquarius and do the 12 sign forecast for that. And I would encourage you to see both videos if you do see this 12 sign forecast. Is to see because the collective video is going to give you a good overview of of what is going on and what I described. So And you can go check out. I just launched the podcast on Spotify just the other night. I was like, I had to, I had to launch the podcast on Spotify because I just was listening to it and I was like, this needs to be on here. And so I did that and I took initiative. So you can also follow me over there. So this person was not like that other person where this person was and I made a song about it where we were, doing recycling. We were going around different classrooms and we were, you know, um, taking out the recycling for the trash. The classrooms. Whoops, a bug. That's what happens when you're outside. Going around to different classrooms and getting the recycling, taking it out to the back. So we were doing that, and this person was just judging me so critically. You're not doing this right. And he is a Virgo with uh Sun in Virgo, Mercury retrograde in Virgo, Venus in Virgo, Jupiter in Virgo, and Moon in Pisces, Mars retrograde in Pisces. Um and all these kind of things like that. Like a lot of this Pisces Virgo dynamic. So this person didn't mean it well, but this other person that I'm talking about did mean it well, where she meant to, where she was genuinely trying to help, and I could sense that. I did feel like I was being criticized, like she was kind of, inhibiting me from exploration and doing other things, and getting distracted and doing all this. And there's a kind of like a critical quality, but she really, really meant well. She did really have a heart, and she really meant very, very well. And that's the quality. Like sometimes we are honest and it does offend others just because of their perception, but we mean well. And the intention is what is important when it comes to that. Um, when it comes to that particular, situation. So, um, now, yeah, that's one quality of that's one of the things that I wanted to say about March 19th. And then the other thing was this particular day, I wrote a post about this and I didn't publish it. Like if I had my community tab back in 2022, and thank goodness that YouTube came out with that in 2022. I was praying for them to come out with the community tab for other channels. I was there was one night where I couldn't sleep because I was so depressed about not having it. Um, and um, and I got it back in October. So I wrote a post about, you know, and this all goes all that. This goes back to a memory of in 2021 because I was at my grandparents' house. We were changing the carpet and it was March 19th and the weather was very, very sunny. It was cold. It was very it was the end of spring. This is the end of spring. And and at the time, I remember getting into the astrologer, Mark Lawrenson, who is of the Sydney Astrology School. And he's very, very good, very, very knowledgeable, has a lot of experience with what he's talking about. Very knowledgeable about the South Node and the lunar nodes in general. I would, if you want to go to him for some real, truthful things, information on that from experience and with a lot of wisdom on that, I would really, really go to him for that. He was with Nadia Shaw and her classes. In fact, maybe I might consider taking some of her classes at Synchronicity University one of these days because they're very, very inexpensive. And now I'm more into astrology than I was over the past 3 years. So, especially last year in 2025 when I was not into it and I was going through the motions when I was making the videos. Anyway, um, you know, so, what was I saying? So, and I was reading a book by John Steinbeck at the time, called The Pearl. And this book was about a family living in Mexico, who one of their children got stung by a scorpion, and then there's this whole tale. They go into town, they meet. I don't remember what exactly went on, but and I want to throw in a word here that you're going to probably hear me use is custom. You're probably thinking custom like a tradition. Well, if you see my Menton series, which is a thing I created when I was little, and I went into depth about that on my Real Me podcast, you can go check that out if you want to understand more about that. A custom is basically you can make anything a custom. A custom is basically an occasion that you either experience or after you experience that. So let's say you experience something and the weather makes you think of something random and you associate a word to that, or you associate a certain person to that weather, or you think of a certain picture in your mind, or a certain memory gets triggered when you are with a person. And then you come up with a name for it. Like I have a lot of customs I can't even go into that I've created over the years. I haven't written any of them down. But that's what custom is. Food can be a custom, like when you walk into a store and you smell something, what does that remind you of? What does that bring to mind? Like what memory and what association brings that to mind? Like by smelling men's cologne in a store brings me back to um makes me imagine or fantasize a day where I'm into technology and I'm into YouTube, like the typical YouTubers or whatever, and I'm very, very into the masculine side of that, which I YouTube is not limited to just the cool YouTube videos that you see. No, it's much more than that now, and that's the kind of content I produce. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a content creator. So that is what I mean by a custom. So if you're confused, well, I clarified. So anyway, this particular day was the way that it was, and I wrote this post about going into a like a temple or something, and really going into reflection. Like when you enter a temple, you go into like it's a quiet, like you go into churches and mosques and all those things, like the Muslims, all those things to reflect, to get close to your higher power, to get close to that religion, to like there is a confession box in churches where you honestly and transparently say this is what I have done wrong, and you're honest about that to a pastor or minister or something like that. So you're going to this mausoleum and really really contemplating really contemplating the theme of this particular day spiritually and astrologically is rebirth. I called this live stream the end before the beginning, and it literally is the end before the beginning because this represents this is a major transition in astrology, and we were dealing with this dynamic a lot last year with Neptune moving um, from Pisces to Aries in March, Saturn moving to Pisces to Aries, Venus retrograde from Pisces to Aries, Mercury retrograde from Pisces to Aries, like the four planets lined up. And the interesting thing was those two inner planets were kind of, trailering and also adding meaning to the big outer planets changing signs. So it is a day of rebirth. Um, rebirth when it comes to just what's going on in terms of the dynamic for the day, really. So the day in particular today is about you're transitioning from the old, the Piscean world of dreams and imagination. And dreams are what you fantasize about in your head and what you go off, and the old world of who you were before. Like it's kind of like the Pisces marks the transition from birth to death, and so you're transitioning from being very very reflective and contemplative in your old age, and you're Like you kind of float into another world. You go into the other worlds when you're in the Piscean stage of your life. You go into a more quiet internal time where you reflect on your life and you end. That's like the ending before life. Like there's a show called Waiting for God, and that whole the concept around that show in the is what I'm kind of talking about. Where it's like and there's something about you know ending something and being caught in the Piscean ending of that, and then moving into Aries energy, which is the spark of something new, which is the rebirth of something new. It is the beginning. It is like you're planting a new seed in that direction. You are beginning something afresh. You are saying, I am ending the old story, the old narrative of who I was in the past, and of all the dreams, of all the reflections, of all the fantasies I had, and I'm initiating myself, and I'm launching myself. I'm kind of like a alien putting myself down Earth, launching myself into this new reality, into this new life. Like Aries represents the spark of new life. It is initiation. And one of the things I read about Aries, it's about taking up space and being free to take up space. Like just look around to what is going on right now. See, you just notice the details. Like the grass is getting green. The weather's warmer while I'm out here. Um, the snow has melted. It was snowy just a couple of days ago, and the tree, like doesn't it look like spring? And you're feeling alive again during spring. Like I feel very, very alive at this time of year, and this is my favorite time of year. And I am an Aries, so I'm very fortunate to be born at this time of year before the bugs come out, before it gets too warm. I couldn't ask for a better time of year to be born, honestly. So I am very fortunate in that way to be born to be born at this time of year, in the northern hemisphere. So maybe you're watching this in the southern hemisphere and this looks unfamiliar to you if you do happen to be watching in the southern hemisphere. Um, but no, I think of the spring, like the spring equinox is tomorrow. How we're going to have new life, new birth coming forth. The flowers are coming out. Like it's just saying, look at me, look at how alive I'm becoming, and it's like new life. Like all the snow is melted, the hibernation, like, and Pisces is winter to spring, like literally the time of year. And in winter, you're in a gestation period, frozen for a time. In winter, you go inside yourself. In winter, you reflect on your own internal things, and it's a very, very spiritual time. And you start out with looking at the seriousness in your long term goals and what you want to put out into the world. You look at, grouping each other with humanity, and then you end with getting into the reflective, quiet time. You're reflecting on your spiritual values, you're reflecting on your spiritual principles and your spiritual ideals, and you're also reflecting on your dreams, your aspirations during the winter. It's a time of, like you're getting to know yourself on a more intimate level because you don't have the nice weather outside where you can walk around and scatter. Like winter and fall are the feminine months, and spring and summer are the masculine months. And Ostara is tomorrow, and I think that I'm going to get that oracle deck because I have the. If you're into oracle cards and you don't have the Seasons of the Witch oracle series, it is such a great series. It's probably the only oracle series out there. All the decks are beautifully done. The art is very, very cozy and comforting, and the cards are alphabetical and they're ordered by number, and also um, just it's just such a great idea to have decks based that are similar yet they're different based off of the different time of year. And it sort of paints that picture as you go through the decks. So great decks. So the Ostara deck. So you can think of getting a simmer pot going during this time of year. You can think of hot cross buns. You can think of moon milk. You can think of Lamb. Like those are some of the cards in the deck that I can't go into explaining, and I'm not going to do a whole video explaining that because that would be abusing it. But just to say here that it's like, winter is feminine, like it's very, very feminine, yin, and then spring happens, and then you're yang, then you're out and about, then you're doing things, then you're making things happen, then you're, like, I'm telling you, it, those New Year's resolutions that you set way back in, you know, uh, January, take those out again. If you started your New Year's resolutions and you haven't followed them, take those New Year's resolutions out again. Refine them, look over them, and reinitiate them. Because, like, set your New Year's resolutions around this time of year. Because I think that you'll find that you're more vitalized, you're more motivated to put them into action because it's spring, the weather is warmer. Aries season is here, it gives you energy, it gives you momentum, it gets the, kind of gets the car going, if you will. I shouldn't even have to say if you will. That's like cover up. But so, take those out again. It's like, this is the cusp of rebirth. And there's a whole thing about cusps being like not true because it's either the end of the sign or the beginning of the sign. And we are wrapping up. The sun is at the very last degree of Pisces. So we're wrapping up lessons, and it feels kind of bittersweet, actually. Like, this particular day, back in 2021, I kind of felt bittersweet to leave the old season behind. I really enjoyed Pisces season, so it was very, very sad to see Pisces season go, and then Venus moved into Pisces right after that, and I wasn't the most ready for Aries season because I just wanted to stay in Pisces season back in 2021. But it is kind of the ending of an old chapter in your life. Like we just had the new moon yesterday, and I was talking about endings and resolving things, and like that new moon yesterday was as much about new beginnings as it was about endings, releasing the old, contemplating like that. If you've seen my new moon in Pisces video, which I didn't see, a lot of you did, which is fine, but I would really encourage you. And I think that putting the collective videos of my, what's it called? Transit videos on the Bastions of Google podcast only on Spotify will get more people over on Spotify to discover the podcast and hear those videos so that the message of what's going on collectively for the week, for that transit of the week, gets out to more instead of, like I would really, really encourage you to see those collective videos because they do kind of give you a very, very good overview and good solid understanding of what the transit is about. Now, and I'm going to do something at the very, very end here that's going to be kind of getting away from all this talking that I'm doing. But anyway, so we're ending the old stories. Like, what are the old stories? Like, what are you wrapping up? This is a good day to contemplate what from the past year are you wrapping up, or what do you need to tie a ribbon around, or whatever, or tie a bow around, or tie a loose ends up? What are you trying to end in your life? This is a good day to end that and be reflective and contemplative. And then tomorrow is the new start. Like tomorrow, like today is the final frontier day of the astrological year. We're at the final frontier. Tomorrow begins a new chapter, something new, because tomorrow the sun enters Aries. New life begins and a new year begins, and new goals and fresh new energy. So, the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just the planets right now. So the moon is, there's a lot of Aries planets this Aries season. There's a lot of going to be, this Aries season is going to be massive. It is going to be forward moving, full on, go, go, go. That's what this year is go, go, go. And this Aries season is going to be, we're kind of in the slow, slow, slow period of the Mercury retrograde, which ends tomorrow. perfect timing for the for the so this has been a long Mercury retrograde, very, very long. Mercury retrograde ends tomorrow, which it makes sense because it's the spring equinox and everything like that. The moon is in Aries, which makes today and probably tomorrow very feisty days. Like the moon in Aries has this instinctual desire to act, to and it can, the moon in Aries can kind of have a temper to it, like a little bit of a temper. Like it can be very, very reactive. Like when somebody, it's very, very, it's actually a very sensitive moon because when somebody pushes a moon in Aries buttons, they react really, really quick. They get mad really, really quick. They act very, very quick. But Aries is a sign that just moves on when they act. They don't just hold on to the, you know, thing that they're doing. When it comes to the anger that they have, they actually leave it behind and move on to the new quest. But Moon in Aries anyway, it's very, very sensitive to battle in relationships and emotionally. It needs to get its way. It needs to get in charge, and emotionally, it is very, very set off to when somebody criticizes you, or when somebody um angers you or steps on your toes or tries to riddle you and put you into exhaustion of mind when it comes to then you having to the moon in Aries fights to get its way. So the energy today is very, very feisty. You could feel very, very reactive, but that's one side of the Aries moon. The other side is like I have fresh new energy now. I'm motivated to like let's go, let's make things happen. Let's start this and go all in. Like the moon in Aries is adding a bit of fire to the day. And we have Venus in Aries, which is about Venus in Aries is about you being in relationships that are right for you. You asserting yourself in your relationships and say, this is what I want in relationships. These are my goals. These are how I want the relationships to go. And I'm playing an active role in my relationships. And I'm asserting myself and I'm putting myself out there in relationships. And I'm not afraid to make the first move and initiate new relationships. Um, and um, and it's very it can be physical in relationships, like if you can get into sex and all those kind of things, it's very physical when it comes to interacting in those relationships. Like Aries has a very, very physical appetite for life, very very much a physical sign, but don't box it down like that because I'm in Aries and I'm not. I'm very intellectual. I have Gemini energy and Mars and Gemini, so um but the low road of Venus in Aries is becoming just so self-centered and so assertive, well, aggressive in relationships that you ignore the part of relationships that deals with collaboration and harmony and coming together, and you ignore the more beautiful, graceful, calming side of relationships. Like Venus in Aries is not settle. It doesn't do subtlety. It doesn't do calm. It is very. It is very. You know um, it is very, um, very much very fiery in its nature. And it can, it's like Venus is considered in its detriment in Aries because it's opposite Venus and Libra. Venus rules Libra, and it's like, and astrologer was talking about this, where love is very, very hard to feel because if you're in the energy of fighting and battle and anger and aggression, you are not in love. You are not in the energy of love, open heartedness, compassion. You're not in that energy. So during this time when Venus is in Aries, you may have felt like, love is just very, very hard to lean into during this time because you just want to go and have all this energy and you want to assert yourself, and just softening into the softer nature of love, which Venus is more familiar with, can be very, very difficult during this time. Um, And then Mars is in Pisces. So I'm just talking about the personal planets now. Just Mars is in Pisces, which means that for until Mars enters Aries, that's Mars is going to enter Aries, and then Mars is going to be in its domicile, and we're going to really feel even more motivated than we're feeling this year and now. The Sun enter Aries, the Sun Neptune conjunction, which I did a video about just a couple days ago, which you can check out both videos, the collective and this for your sign video there, where I talk about that conjunction, and it happens in just a couple of days' time. So you can look to that, which is very, very huge. And so, when Mars enters Aries, we're going to be feeling revved up. We're going to be feeling assertive, very wanting to go forth in life. We're going to be wanting to go for the chase and go at what we want in a very self-focused way. But Venus and Mars in Pisces is more calm. Mars in Pisces is not very direct, and it's not very assertive with the direction that it's going in. It's very contemplative of its actions. Like, it doesn't just act out of impulse. It really, really sits with the action before making them, and it can struggle to take action because Pisces is a sign that struggles to take action. So Mars and Pisces individuals can struggle to take action. And back in January, I talked about this, passive aggressiveness back on a video that I did on Mars and Pisces back on January uh, 19th, I do believe, this year, which I filmed that video before I started the podcast and everything. So, and Mars and Pisces, the thing about Mars and Pisces is it's very intuitive. Like it's very tapped into its intuition, and it lets its inner senses and its inner guide it for its actions of what it wants to do in terms of where it wants to go. So that's one aspect. The final thing I just want to say here before I shift gears before the ending of this live stream is that we have the Sun sextile Uranus. I talked about this on the new moon video, and this kind of gives you the urge to break free, to liberate yourself, and start new. And Sun Uranus aspects are like, how can you change up your daily life? How can you change up your daily routines and the status quo of your life? And it gives you the energy to just be rebellious and be out of the box and make something happen in a way that's very, very bold and dynamic, where you're consciously putting out your rebellious, liberated self, and you're being more liberated. You're being more authentic when you're putting that self out into the world. So that's what the Sun sextile Uranus means. So I just wanted to go through that. And that is all that I have to say on this live stream. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let you observe nature. I've done a lot of talking, as I've spoken about very, very extensively on the New Moon and Pisces video. Let's listen to the sounds of nature. So I'm going to be quiet, and I'm just going to give you a little tour of nature here for just a second. Just observe what you're seeing around you. Shouldn't be filming over there. Shouldn't be filming that. Again, I cannot zoom in here. I would go further up and give you a little bit more of a tour, but I'm afraid the internet's going to cut out, so I'm not going to do that. So that is what I just want to end this live stream with. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the next video, which will probably be tomorrow. I'm thinking of doing a video for my Best of Google podcast on the North Node in Aries and South Node in Libra in the natal chart, which is really about authenticity, being your true self, liberating yourself from codependency. I'm going to talk about all of that on that video, and I do a transit video, but I've already done that, so thinking that I would do more than one a week, but I went back to my promise to myself with keeping to one a week. because I don't want to overwhelm you with transits, and I don't want to make it meaningless, and and that's just how, and it's very, very exhausting to film both the collective and the the 12 sign videos. So tune in for that video tomorrow on the I'm going to go through the nodes through the signs. I think right now I'm going to read through Jen Spiller's tendencies to lay behind and attributes to develop, um, and talk about that placement tomorrow. I also got some astrology books today. I got a book on Saturn. I think Robert Hand is the author. I don't remember. A new look at an old devil, like reframing Saturn's in the malefic. It's about like taskmaster, very disciplinarian, very like these are the rules, these are the structures. And Saturn challenges you in your life with a lot of things. So reframing that. Another book on Hellenistic astrology, which is about fate and fortune, which I don't really know much about, or maybe I just think that I don't know, but maybe I'll know a lot. I don't know. And the other book is just so fascinating. It is about the astrology of historical events, which is what I have been wanting for some time because I am fascinated with um, events in history and the astrology that was going on for those events during that time, the big transits and whatever. So I'm very excited about that. Anyway, I've been on here long enough. I want to hop off, and that is all for now. I will see you in the next video.